You do everything right. You repeat the affirmations, visualize until your head hurts. And when you open your eyes, reality remains unmoved, almost mocking your effort. I've felt that before. And the truth, which might be hard to swallow now, but which sets you free, is that the problem was never you. The mistake is that we were taught that life is a battle, that we need to fight for our dreams. But what if the secret is precisely to surrender? There is a very subtle inner state, a silent adjustment in consciousness that makes quantum manifestation cease to be an effort and become inevitable. It's sad to think about, but most of us go through life without ever stumbling upon this piece. So, in the next few minutes, I don't want to give you another technique for your to-do list. I want to give you the key that turns off that noisy engine of trying and finally turns on receiving mode. Stay with me until the end. Because I need to tell you something about letting go that almost no one realizes. Often, when we think we've let go, our fingers are still secretly squeezing with all their might. If you feel, deep down, that you're ready to stop fighting with life and start receiving, write it in the comments. I let go of the controller. Let's be brutally honest for a second. If this idea that reality is instantaneous were so simple, why do we live with this feeling that there's a chasm between what we dream of and the bread we eat for breakfast? You know, that silent frustration, which isn't even anger, just a weariness of the soul. That's not you being impatient. It's the echo of a lie we were told. That life happens in a queue, one thing after another. And we believed it. We sit on the sidewalk of life and wait for our bus to arrive, without realizing that we are the road itself. This thing called the quantum field isn't a delivery service. It doesn't package your dream and send it by mail. It's the air you breathe. It's the ground beneath your feet. The moment you truly feel, with every cell of your body, that something is yours, it already is. There's no processing, no on the way. The question that haunts me, and perhaps haunts you too, isn't when will it arrive? But my God, what am I holding on to so tightly that prevents everything from flowing? We're not waiting for life. Life is patiently waiting for us to stop treating it like a project under construction. And then we ask ourselves, what kind of time is this that drags on? Is the universe slow, or is our mind trapped in a clock that doesn't exist? Manifesting isn't about building something from scratch. It's like tuning into a radio. We live tuned to some station, and our life is the music that plays. If the music is one of suspense and lack, guess which frequency we chose? The so-called delay is just the static on the radio, the feedback saying, hey, the music you want to hear is on another frequency. Frustration doesn't come from not having what you want. It comes from the crazy contradiction of asking for peace while your body is ready for war. I know, I've done it. I've asked for money with my stomach churning with fear of bills. I've dreamed of love with my heart locked away. And the universe, which doesn't understand our words but reads our state like an open book, only gave me more reasons to be afraid and more reasons to be alone. It's not cruel. It's necessary. And that hurts. This truth is a punch in the gut because it removes the blame from fate and throws the ball back into our lap. Not as a burden, but as the steering wheel of a car. The delay is not a test from God. It's an invitation to look in the mirror and ask, what part of me still thinks I don't deserve this now? What part of me feels safer in longing than in presence? Because let's face it, waiting is a familiar place. Fulfillment, on the other hand, is a completely new and frightening territory. The field doesn't care if you tried hard, if you deserve it. It wants to know if you're in tune. The question changes from, what do I do? To who am I? Reality isn't a brick wall that we lay one by one. It's an endless menu, and we're left staring at it, starving, afraid to choose a dish. Waiting is this hesitation of ours. So this void we feel isn't a physical distance. It's the distance between the person asking and the person who already has. And the secret, which took me so long to understand, isn't to run faster. It's to stop. It's to take a deep breath and realize that the door we've been banging on for years opens inward. And here is the key that changes everything. Most of us are operating with the wrong manual. We learn to vibrate in a state of pleading, asking the universe for crumbs, when the original posture is one of sovereignty. If you feel like you are stuck in this spiritual waiting room, doing everything right but not moving forward, I left the link to the Monad Code in the first pinned comment. It is not just a book. It is the exact protocol for you to stop acting like someone who needs and start operating like someone who commands. Take a look if you want to understand the mechanics behind that authority. But how on earth does our mind, which only knows how to move in a straight line, learn to dance in circles? Our minds are incredible, truly. They've learned to survive in a world where if you sow, you reap, cause and effect. The problem is that we take this map, which works so well for crossing the street, and try to use it to navigate the ocean of existence. And then we drown, because the field from which everything comes has no clock. There is no yesterday, no tomorrow. It's an eternal now. A bubbling place where everything you can imagine already exists, just waiting for you to look. The feeling that things are taking too long is your body's alarm screaming, "You're using the wrong map." This waiting is like standing outside the party, nose pressed against the window, watching a future that never arrives, instead of simply opening the door and going in. And this obsession with looking to the future traps us in a vicious cycle. Our brain, poor thing, just wants to protect us, so it keeps searching the horizon for any sign that our ship is coming. But every time it looks and sees nothing, it shouts to our system, "False alarm. It hasn't arrived yet." And so, day after day, we practice the art of not having. Quantum physics, when we stop to feel instead of just thinking, is mind-blowing. Things don't travel from one place to another. They exist as a possibility, a wisp of smoke, until we look. Our gaze, our attention, transforms the smoke into matter. Our lives work the same way. We are not building the future. We are choosing it now, from an infinite catalog. Waiting is our paralyzing indecision in the face of so many options. It's like being in a dark room full of doors, and each door is a different life. The waiting is like standing there in the middle, trembling, with the flashlight of our attention illuminating the floor. The emptiness, instead of choosing a door, pointing the light and turning the doorknob. The map they gave us says we need to build a corridor to the door we want. But in this place, there is no distance. There is only harmony. This confusion creates a war within us. One part of us, the soul, knows that everything is instantaneous. But the other part, the trained mind, insists that it has to sweat, that it has to fight, that good things are expensive. And the universe, which is a perfect mirror, looks at this internal mess of ours and reflects exactly that. A life of almost. A life that gives signals, that winks at us, but that never fully surrenders. Because almost is the exact frequency that we are emitting. Our brains are addicted to routine. If your deepest belief is, "I'm trying to achieve it," the universe will give you a million opportunities to try. It will give you synchronicities that make you feel like you're on the right track. But the finish line will always recede because your identity has become that of a pilgrim, not someone who has arrived home. Getting out of this labyrinth isn't about finding a better map. It's about burning the map. It's about stopping trying to understand the logic and starting to feel the music. It's not a puzzle for the head. It's a rhythm for the body. But if waiting isn't about standing still, if it's an action we practice every single day, how is this activity actually building the dam that prevents the river from flowing? We think that waiting is something passive, like standing at a bus stop. But it's not. Waiting is a full-time job. It's an internal posture, a frequency we constantly emit, a way of directing our attention that shouts to the universe, "What I want is not here. It's there in the future, separate from me." And the quantum field, which is as precise as a laser, doesn't respond to what we want. It responds to who we are being. At the moment we wait, we sign an internal contract that says, "I am the person who doesn't have this." We define ourselves by absence. And the field, like the most honest mirror that exists, reflects exactly this distance that we ourselves create. That's why we kill ourselves doing visualizations, repeating affirmations until our mouths are dry, and nothing seems to really change. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. The feeling of waiting never goes away, so the experience of lack doesn't either. Science explains this in a way that gives me chills. A nervous system that is waiting is in limbo. It's not relaxed, but it's not panicking either. It's in a state of low alert, a subtle tension, always ready for what's to come. And this prevents any resolution. A new reality is not born from the tension of expectation. It is born from the sigh of relief of arrival. Think of waiting as holding your breath. You can hold it for a while, but your whole body is tense, focused on the moment you can release the air. You're not living, you're surviving. Manifesting from waiting is like that. It's trying to build your dream house while holding your breath. All the energy that could go towards creation is being used to maintain the tension of waiting. And we see this in our daily lives. We refresh our email again. We check our bank balance for the 10th time. We check if the person replied to the message. Each of these actions is a small act of faith in what is lacking. Every time we look for proof outside ourselves, we reinforce the belief that it's not here inside. We unintentionally become experts at noticing what's missing, instead of masters at sensing what already exists. The quantum field doesn't understand please, it understands energy. And the energy of need, of "I need this to be happy," sounds to the universe like an alarm of deprivation. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, cannot give you something that will only confirm your belief that you are incomplete. It waits patiently for you to change the tune, for you to start singing "I am already complete," and that would only be the icing on the cake. The turning point happens when we realize that waiting is a habit, not a sentence. It's a choice we make every second. The solution isn't learning to wait better. It's unlearning how to wait. And this leads me to a question that has kept me awake at night for a long time. If waiting is a reflection of our relationship with what we want, what kind of unhealthy relationship have we built that forces us to live in life's waiting room? The problem is almost never what we desire. The universe isn't up there judging whether you deserve a house on the beach or a movie-worthy romance. Where things go wrong is in a much more intimate, much more personal place, in our relationship with desire. How do you feel about what you want? If you see it as the missing piece, as the only thing that will make you feel whole, secure, or loved, then that's it. The waiting is already part of the package. You bought the desire with the waiting included. Our nervous system is like a trained puppy. And we've spent our whole lives teaching it that happiness, peace, and security reside in the future. They depend on a diploma, a marriage, a number in the bank account. As long as this is the rule of the game that runs in our subconscious, we will live in this state of almost. And the quantum field, which has no opinion, only reflects, will materialize this belief in incompleteness. It is the most loyal servant of our internal programming. Imagine two people wanting the same thing. One feels whole, grateful, and sees desire as an adventure, a fun expansion of who they already are. The other feels like a void and believes that desire is the only band-aid solution. Even if they do the same things, their realities will be worlds apart. The first emits a clean, coherent signal. The second emits a signal full of noise and despair. The field cannot award the prize to someone who defines themselves by its absence. That would be madness, a contradiction. It's like trying to listen to a symphony with the radio tuned to static. No matter how much you want to hear the music, what comes out is what's tuned in. The real magic happens when we change that relationship. When desire ceases to be a need that defines us and becomes a preference that amuses us. It's the stark difference between I need this to be happy and I'm already happy. And that would be incredible. The first phrase comes from lack. It tightens. It contracts. The second comes from fullness. It expands. It radiates. The universe isn't impressed by the size of our needs. It's impressed by the clarity of our vibration. And when desire becomes a preference and not a matter of life or death, the anxiety goes away. The urgency calms down. We stop looking out the window because our peace is no longer out there. And the most beautiful and irritating paradox is that it is precisely there, when we stop caring so much, that things happen. We release the rope that, unknowingly, was tying our own present. This shift in perspective is true letting go. It's not giving up on the dream. It's letting go of the belief that you are a broken being without it. It's an act of self-respect, of declaring independence from the outside world. The problem is that, for many of us, this waiting becomes so chronic, so familiar, that it becomes our very identity. Through repetition, waiting ceases to be a state and becomes who we are. The brain loves a shortcut, and by constantly traveling the path of anticipation, it creates a neural highway. Waiting becomes familiar, comfortable, in a morbid way. We become the person who is fighting for it, the person who is almost there, the person who has faith that one day it will arrive. It seems noble, doesn't it? But beneath this veneer of hope, the foundation is made of sand, the belief that right now, I am not, do not have. And the quantum field, which reads our identity before it reads our wish list, responds to who we believe ourselves to be. That's why after trying for so long, we feel tired, exhausted. The initial fire turns into embers. The urgency becomes resignation. The waiting continues, but now it's silent, a constant hum in the background of our lives. The danger of this identity is that it condemns us to an eternal limbo. If you are the seeker, the universe, to honor you, will give you infinite things to seek. If you are the warrior, it will give you infinite battles to fight. We get stuck on the journey because identifying with the journey is the only thing we know how to do. We are afraid of reaching the destination. Getting out of this isn't about trying harder. It's not a new technique. It's an act of rebellion, abandoning the identity of the one who tries. It's looking in the mirror and admitting that the self that tries so hard is living proof of the belief that desire isn't there, and it takes courage to let go of that identity, because it has become our story. It's what we tell others and, worse, ourselves. And there's more. This I'm waiting identity is the perfect excuse to avoid facing the fear of having. What if I succeed and it's not what I imagined? What if the love of my life snores and has unbearable quirks? What if success brings me a burden I don't know how to carry? Waiting keeps us safe in our family unhappiness. Fulfillment is a foreign country where we don't speak the language. Change begins with an honest question, one of those we're afraid to ask. who have I been in relation to this? Have I been the person you already know, who lives from that certainty, or the person who chases after it? The answer shows who's in control. Removing the fantasy of the expectant is like taking off tight clothes at the end of the day. At first it's strange, we feel naked. But soon after comes a relief, a freedom we didn't even remember existed. And when we abandon the identity of the seeker, we don't become empty. We open up a space. And in that space, a new identity can be born. The identity of the creator. The identity of the receiver. The identity of the one who is. And this change is what finally allows us to release the dependence on the result. The master key that everyone talks about, but few truly understand. Letting go is the most banalized and profound word of all. We think it means forgetting, pretending we don't want it anymore, being indifferent. But it's nothing like that. True letting go isn't about desire itself. It's about our dependence on it. It's not about throwing the dream away. It's about throwing away the demand that it happen, so that we can finally allow ourselves to feel good, whole, at peace. It's about dissolving the dependency, not the desire. And when that desperate need goes away, the waiting, which feeds on it, starves. From a quantum perspective, it's at that moment that our signal, previously full of noise and contradiction, becomes clear. We stop sending confusing messages to the field, the thought saying I want, and the feeling screaming I don't have. The system becomes coherent, and consistency doesn't need time. It's not a process, it's a state. It's what the ancients called surrender. Not the surrender of someone who gives up, but the surrender of someone who trusts. Of someone who stops trying to row against the current and learns to float, recognizing that the river's force is much greater than the strength of our arms. Letting go of dependency means changing the question. Instead of, what do I need to do to make this happen? We start asking, how can I feel now the way I think I'll feel when this happens? This simple question is revolutionary. It takes the power away from the external object and gives it back to us, inside. It's about stopping using the future as an excuse to postpone our own happiness. It's about deciding to be happy now, with or without what we want. And when we do that, something crazy happens. Desire, which was once a piano on our backs, becomes a feather in our hand. It's still there, but it no longer defines us. We become free, and it is from this freedom, this lightness, that the manifestation happens, almost as a side effect. The field, which once mirrored our struggle, now mirrors our freedom, and it begins to bring us things that our controlling mind never even dreamed of asking for. Think of a radio again. Dependence is like angrily turning the dial, forcing the station to come on. Letting go is finding the right frequency, leaning back in your chair and letting the music play. You haven't given up on listening to music. You've given up fighting with the radio. You've trusted that on the right frequency, music is inevitable. But this change isn't just a nice idea. It's not a mind trick. It's a transformation that happens in the flesh, in the bones. It's something we feel in our bodies. It's a physical switch we flip, turning off survival mode and finally turning on creation mode. So, what is the one thing you need to do for quantum manifestation to work? The answer is so simple that our complication-addicted minds will hate it. You need to feel safe now. That's it. It's not about positive thinking. It's not about visualizing more strongly. It's about teaching your body, this survival machine you inhabit, that it can relax before the test arrives. It's the sigh of relief you take before you have a reason to sigh. Manifestation doesn't respond to your desire. It responds to the safety of your nervous system. While your body is in survival mode, even subtly, with that slight tension in your shoulder, the shortness of breath, the racing heart when you think about the future. It's screaming to the universe. Danger, incompleteness, lack. And the quantum field, which is a mirror, can only reflect this state of alert back to you. Resting, in this sense, is not laziness. Resting is the most radical act of creation. It's the state in which your body feels safe now, without needing any guarantee that the future will be safe. It's your biology saying we're okay, even if your bank account or your love life says otherwise. The big turning point, that the title promises, is when you stop outsourcing your peace. It's when you learn to generate feelings of security, love, and abundance from the inside out. How? By using your own biology to your advantage. It's placing your hand on your chest and feeling the warmth, breathing deeply until your abdomen expands, walking on the grass and feeling the earth. It's using your body to tell itself, hey, we are safe, here, now. This speaks to your nervous system in a way that 1,000 affirmations never could. This isn't work for the mind, which loves to analyze and doubt. It's work for the body, which only understands what it feels. When your body learns that it can feel whole, safe, and at peace without what you so desperately want, the desperate energy of need evaporates. The signal you send to the universe becomes crystal clear. The war between the wanting mind and the doubting body finally ends. And the universe, like a perfect mirror, has no choice but to reflect this new and unwavering wholeness of yours. That's the secret. Manifesting isn't about pulling something from afar. It's about allowing what's already yours to reveal itself, removing the only thing that was standing in the way. Your own physiological resistance, your dependence on the future to feel good. When you learn to flip your own safety switch, you stop trying to live. You become the place where the life you dream of finally happens. And then, when you finally let go of the rope, when your body stops expecting life's next punch, something very strange happens. A silence. But it's not the silence of someone who has given up, who has thrown in the towel. It's a dense silence, full of presence. It's the moment when the civil war inside you ends. The mind stops shouting at the heart. The body stops doubting the soul. Everything finally points to the same place. That internal debate ends. That annoying little voice in the back of your head asking, will it be? You finally sit in the chair and stop pacing back and forth. And a system at peace, my friend, moves mountains much faster than a system driven by despair. This is the state that monks spend their lives seeking. The so-called Wu Wei, effortless action. It's not about lying on the couch. It's about acting from a place of stillness, where action simply flows, without that internal resistance. But our minds, poor things, hate this phase. They've been programmed to believe that if we're not making an effort, not worrying, something is terribly wrong. So when the struggle is over, it panics. It tries to pull you back into the fight, whispering just one more visualization just in case. It tries to convince you to reopen a case that the universal judge has already decided. I know how it is. You feel such a great peace that it's almost uncomfortable. You're not used to it. You think that if you're not doing something, the universe will put you at the back of the line. But the real work here isn't doing anything more. It's realizing that the cake is already in the oven, and the only task is not to open the door every 5 minutes. It's learning to trust the silence. It's understanding that the absence of struggle isn't stagnation. It's progress itself happening at high speed. This silence is the signature of true faith. Not the faith that it will happen, but the visceral certainty that it has already happened in a dimension that the eyes cannot yet reach. It is a knowledge that resides in the bones, not in words. And it is in this silence that the universe has space to work. When we stop shouting our orders, we can finally hear the instructions it has been whispering all along. Your mind will call you passive, lazy. It's a trap. It confuses peace with apathy. But peace is a force, a powerful vibration. It's the fertile ground where the seeds you planted can finally sprout without being trampled by your own anxiety. The challenge is learning to live in this new territory of stillness, even if it seems strange at first. And it's funny because we spend our lives searching for this peace, and when it arrives, we don't know what to do with it. We end up looking for the next fire to put out. The trick here is simply to notice this restlessness of the mind and, with a smile, not engage in its fight. It's about saying to yourself, "Calm down, girl. Everything's all right. We're at peace now. And everything is being taken care of." This state of inner silence is what prepares us for the most difficult and liberating step of all, to stop spying on life to see if it has changed. The turning point, the one that separates the men from the boys in this game, is when we stop looking out the window to see if the mailman has arrived. Not because we're afraid of being disappointed again, but because our peace of mind no longer depends on that damned letter. The desire is still there, warm in our hearts, but the dependence on it, that ugly, needy, and desperate thing, has died. It's a detachment that the rational mind simply cannot process. It's a trust that, to an outsider, borders on insanity. Sufi mystics have a word for this: Tawheed. Oneness. It's when the illusion that there is a self here and a universe out there dissolves. There is no longer a small, anxious self, checking if the big, powerful universe is doing its job right. There is only one flow, one dance. And when this separation ends, we stop jumping between who we are now and who we hope to be. There is only one state, and the field responds to that. Instantly. And then the manifestation happens in a way that almost offends us with its simplicity. There are no fireworks, no choir of angels. There's a calmness, a feeling of, oh, of course, a feeling that nothing else needs to be managed, controlled. It's a state of being, not an act of doing. It's like breathing. You don't try to breathe, you just breathe. That's why so many people don't even realize when they manifest something huge. Because the mind was expecting an event, a drama, a medal for the effort. And what it receives is normality. A transition so smooth that it seems like it's always been this way. We stopped checking our bank balance not because we became millionaires overnight, but because our feeling of abundance stopped coming from the number on the screen. And then, as a consequence, the number on the screen begins to change. This abandonment of monitoring is an act of sovereignty. It's saying to the universe, "My happiness is not your problem, it's mine. I take care of it here, now. You can take care of the details, the how, and the when, because I trust that you are smarter than me." And the universe, upon receiving this trust, finally has the freedom to surprise us with its genius. It's a place of silent power. You stop talking about what you're going to do or have. You simply are. And the people around you feel it. They can't explain it, but they sense a calmness, a certainty in you. You've stopped vibrating need and started vibrating presence. And this death of monitoring doesn't leave a hole. It leaves a space for reality, which was being suffocated by our anxiety, to finally begin to move. After we turn off the internal fire alarm and stop expecting the worst, reality starts to move. But it's not like an earthquake. It's more like a silent gardener who comes during the night and rearranges the pots. It's subtle, a conversation that changes course, an opportunity that appears out of nowhere in an email you almost deleted, an obstacle that seemed like Mount Everest and that suddenly dissolves without you doing anything. Our mind looks at this and glitches. It doesn't recognize it as a manifestation because it doesn't seem like the reward it thought it deserved after so much suffering. But if we look at it from the perspective of the field, it all makes sense. The field doesn't need to deliver anything. It only reflects the new order we've established here. The paths of probability, which were previously blocked by our "it won't work" energy, begin to open up. Options that we didn't even see before become obvious. Reality doesn't change direction. It changes accessibility. It's as if doors that were locked suddenly appear open. That's why, when things really work out, we usually say it simply happened, or I wasn't even trying anymore. These phrases perfectly describe a system that has stopped being sabotaged by its own controlling mind. We step aside, and the intelligent flow of life can finally do its job. I've seen this happen so many times, to myself and to others. We fight for something, and nothing happens. Then we give up, not on the desire, but on the struggle. We surrender. We get fed up with so much effort. And a few weeks later, in a way we could never have predicted, what we wanted appears, but in a much better way. It's not magic. It's physics. We stopped creating resistance. This rearrangement is like dominoes falling in slow motion. One small thing leads to another. A chance encounter leads to an idea, which leads to a connection, which opens the door we wanted. The linear mind could never plan this sequence. It only knows how to go from point A to point B in a straight line, but the countryside knows all the shortcuts, all the back streets and alleys. The challenge at this stage is not to be intimidated by the ease. We're so addicted to the narrative of struggle that when things start to flow, we become suspicious. We think there's a catch. But the only catch is that life was meant to be this way all along. And as this silent rearrangement continues, something even deeper happens. What we considered a miracle begins to seem normal. What once seemed like a miracle is now beginning to feel like the natural course of things. We realize that manifestation isn't about adding something that was missing. It's about removing the resistance that prevented what was already ours from arriving. When our system is at peace, results no longer need to break down the door. They are simply no longer barred at the entrance. Neuroscience has a beautiful explanation for this. They call it attentional filtering. When our nervous system is no longer sounding the alarm of lack, our perception changes. We stop looking for evidence that things will go wrong and start seeing the opportunities that were already right in front of us. Our decisions become simpler. Our timing improves. We say yes to things that previously scared us and no to things that we previously accepted out of neediness. On the outside, people call it confidence. On the inside, it feels like ease. It's the famous flow state, where you're so immersed in what you're doing that time and your own ego seems to disappear. It's the experience of being a channel through which life flows, instead of being the stressed-out manager of life. And the impossible begins to become our new normal. That amount of money that seemed like a fortune is now just a number. That kind of relationship that seemed like something out of a movie is now your reality. Not because you've become special, but because you've stopped feeling unworthy. You've aligned yourself with the version of yourself for whom that is normal. This normalization is crucial. If we continue to treat the manifestation as a miracle, we keep it separate from ourselves as a rare event. But when we normalize it, we integrate it. We become the kind of person for whom miracles are the norm. We expect things to work out, not with anxiety, but with calm certainty. It's a subtle but powerful identity shift. You're no longer the person who managed to manifest something. You are the person who lives in a friendly and abundant universe. And this identity becomes your new starting point for everything. But this new reality, this new ease, brings with it a new challenge. We need to learn to trust this flow, even when it takes us down paths our minds don't understand. Things rarely turn out the way we imagined, and thank God for that. While we were in the waiting phase, our minds, in their eagerness to control, tried to predict how. They created scripts, plans, narrow channels through which reality should pass. But when the waiting ends, when we let go of control, the field has much more space to be creative. It doesn't follow our script. It chooses the path of least resistance, not the path that our limited logic designed. This is where trust stops being just a nice word and becomes a daily practice. Trusting isn't about believing that everything will work out your way. It's about allowing the result to arrive without demanding that it resemble the image you had in your head. It's an act of humility. It's recognizing that the intelligence that organizes galaxies probably knows how to solve your financial problem more efficiently than you do. This is what Christian mystics called surrendering one's personal will to the divine will. Not as an act of submission, of feeling small, but as an act of wisdom, of recognizing that there is a greater intelligence at work and that to go against it is simply foolishness. In practice, this means that when a door closes, we don't panic. We breathe and trust that the field is redirecting us to a better door. When someone says no, we don't take it personally. We trust that they are opening space for the right yes. It's a dance. We take one step, and the universe takes the next. We stop trying to choreograph the entire dance. This trust is tested every day. The mind will want to revert to planning mode. It will see the unexpected path the universe is showing you, and will say, no, 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 the plan was that way. And the practice is, each time, to take a deep breath and say to your mind, I know. But let's trust. Let's see where this leads. Is it scary? Yes. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Because it takes away the illusion of control. But it's the only way to allow real magic to happen. The magic that is beyond our capacity to imagine. However, even when we learn to trust, there is one last danger, one last subtle test that can send us back to the beginning of the game. The final stage isn't about getting what we want. It's about managing to maintain who we've become when the waiting is over. And it's here, at this crucial point, that many people, without even realizing it, sabotage everything. It's not out of doubt. It's for a much more treacherous reason. Our nervous system hasn't yet become accustomed to peace. It's addicted to the drama of survival. As soon as reality starts to respond, as soon as good things start to happen, the old habit of monitoring returns subtly. The mind, like a suspicious manager, asks, is this really happening? Will it last? The body tenses up, just a little. The attention, which was in the present, shifts again to the future, to the possibility of loss. And that's it. The waiting, like a ghost, re-enters the system. We need to understand that manifestation isn't a one-time event, like winning the lottery. It's a state that needs to be stabilized. The quantum field can respond instantly, but our nervous system, which has spent decades operating in scarcity and fear mode, needs time and repetition for coherence to become its new default state, and not just a weekend visit. It's like someone who has lived their whole life in a noisy, chaotic house and suddenly moves to a quiet house in the countryside. For the first few nights, the silence is deafening. The person can't sleep. They miss the chaos because chaos was familiar. Our nervous system does the same thing. It misses the adrenaline of worry. So when money starts coming in, we feel an urge to worry about how we're going to keep it. When a romantic relationship starts to flow, we start looking for problems, for signs that something is going to go wrong. It's not because we're pessimistic. It's because stability is unknown territory and therefore perceived as dangerous by our primitive brain. The work here is to perceive this impulse to return to chaos and, consciously, not give in to it. It's about practicing receiving. It's about practicing enjoying. It's about teaching our body, with patience and gentleness, that peace is safe, that abundance is safe, that love is safe. This isn't something we solve with willpower. It requires the creation of a new identity, an identity that feels at home in peace. Stabilizing this new state doesn't come from trying to remain at peace, because that would already be an effort, and effort is the same old energy. Stabilization comes from creating, in our daily lives, small structures that remind us and bring us back to coherence when the mind inevitably wanders. It's the stark difference between attracting something and becoming someone. Becoming is quieter, less glamorous, but infinitely more powerful and lasting. It is the final transition from an identity based on lack, I am the seeker, to an identity based on wholeness, I am the one who is. This process is what many spiritual traditions call the death of the ego, and that expression is frightening, but it is not the annihilation of who you are. It is the death of your identification with the small, fearful and separate part of yourself. It is a rebirth into a much broader identity, connected to everything. In practice, this means creating anchoring rituals. It could be spending the first 5 minutes of the morning in silence, feeling gratitude, before picking up your cell phone. It could be a walk in nature at lunchtime to regulate the nervous system. It could be consciously choosing the people you spend your time with, surrounding yourself with those who already live in that frequency of peace and trust. It's about making coherence your new home, not a fancy hotel you visit on spiritual retreats. And like any new home, at first it feels a little strange. You don't know where things are. But with time, with repetition, it becomes our place, our pattern. This new identity no longer needs to prove anything. It no longer needs to manifest to feel powerful. Its power comes from within. It knows it is one with the creative field of the universe, and that its desires are simply the impulses of the universe itself, wanting to express itself through it. Desire ceases to be something personal and becomes a calling. When you live from this identity, manifestation becomes an organic, natural process. Things simply happen because there is no longer an internal identity blocking them. You become a clean channel. And from this place, there is only one last thing left to do, or rather, not to do. The final task, if we can call it that, is to cultivate the art of non-interference. It is to let the rearrangement of reality complete itself. It is to let the new paths become obvious on their own, without our anxiety to hasten them. Once coherence is established, reality doesn't need our guidance. It needs space. It needs us to get out of the way. When we allow this space to remain open, when we resist the temptation to fill it with worry or excessive planning, the final change, the one that is visible and undeniable, tends to arrive faster than we expect. And it arrives in a way that seems so right, so logical, that we look back and think, how could it have been any other way? It seems inevitable. From this place, protesting ceases to be something we do. It becomes something that has already been taken care of. There is nothing left to pursue, nothing to force, nothing to prove. The only task that remains is not to ruin everything. It is not to interrupt the coherence that we fought so hard to achieve. It is not to reintroduce the virus of doubt and control into the system that is finally clean. It's a state of relaxed vigilance. We observe the mind, and when it tries to pull us back into the old struggle, we smile, thank it for trying to protect us, and gently return our attention to the peace of the present moment. Because the moment we stop waiting for reality to move, reality no longer has any reason to wait for us. The dance begins. And we finally realize that we were never waiting for the universe. The universe was, all along, patiently waiting for us. If this video touched your soul, I have an invitation that goes beyond knowledge. For our mission to continue and reach more minds, we need to walk together. Today, the most powerful way to support this channel is through an exchange, by purchasing ebooks. The Thoth Code and the Monad Code. You receive the keys to mental alchemy and the laws of consciousness, and we receive the necessary breath to keep going. This isn't just a purchase, it's your seal of commitment to the awakening we promote here. Without this support, our journey is limited. The link is pinned in the first comment. Let's keep this frequency active